This morning, we are continuing our coverage of Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And while we want to focus on celebrating culture here on Up with KREM, we also know there are people hurting in our community. That's why this morning we're welcoming Dr. Pui-Yan Lam onto our show. She's a sociology professor at Eastern Washington University and just hosted a bystander intervention training. Good morning, doctor. So glad to have you here with us. I want to jump right in. What is bystander intervention, and why do you think it's important to teach it?
Well, bystander intervention, I think it originally started as training to help counter sexual harassment. And so it is to address kind of the phenomenon that oftentimes in a situation, bystanders just didn't know how to intervene, or because people were thinking maybe someone else would step up. Then organizations started to adapt that training to see if we can prepare people so that they can step in and intervene in those situations when people of Asian descent are being targeted in these situations, being assaulted, being harassed.
That's so important. Give us some of those techniques. We obviously can't attend your full training right now, but give our viewers at home at least one or two techniques they can take away this morning.
I think the reason why bystander intervention training could be really powerful is that it takes some of the people's kind of barriers or hang-ups against, stepping in, because oftentimes people have the kind of the dramatic version of what would happen in this situation or what should happen in this situation, how someone kind of look into the situation, in a very dramatic way. In this type of training, usually they talk about the 5 Ds. So they talk about, the first one is what people think of in terms of direct intervention, but we also talk about delegate, in terms of delegating, people who are around you, to do different things to take over the situation, to make sure that the person who is targeted being safe. It can be also to distract, so you can, there find ways to take the person being targeted into safety, just really, kind of skillfully or discreetly, find an excuse to strike a conversation with the person being targeted, pretend that you know this person, or ask a question and give you the opportunity to take the person away from verbal assault, for example, or when that person was being verbally harassed, in a grocery store, in a public place, and things like that. It can also be, documented the situation, so that, if the person decides to do something about, to file a complaint about the situation, there would be useful information that person can take in terms of what happens, when that happens, the people who are involved, other witnesses, and things like that.
Well, Dr. Lam, thank you so much for joining us. That is all the time we have, but we will post more information about upcoming events if people want to get more help and understand more about this training so we can all make a difference in our community. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll be right back.